So they get a little more complicated. So let's do another one that's just a regular one. So in this case, I take these two. Again, we take the first and last term and multiply them together. And then that middle term is going to go on the bottom. Now this one has negatives and positives, so that's going to be important to point out. And it's really easy to get mixed up on this one. So the negative 60, I want to multiply to get, but add to get negative 11. So negative 1 and 60 obviously doesn't work. Negative 2 and 30 doesn't give me 11. Negative 3 and 20, not negative 11. I think 4 goes into it. 4 times what? 15? Ooh, that might be it. Because 15 minus 4 is 11. So a negative 15 and a positive 4 are going to be my factors. Yeah. So that's a 4. So those are the two terms we're going to use to split that middle term. So that's a negative 15x, a positive 4x, minus 20. Now we're ready to group this. So I take out a 3x here. I'm not showing all my steps. If you need to show the division, that's fine. Hopefully that's kind of coming more naturally to you guys. Out of these second two, I can take out a 4. And I have the same thing twice. And so then we're factored. Why don't you guys try example 5 if you haven't already? See if you guys can try example 5. We'll do it together, but set up your little X thing first. Yeah, it's important to factor out that GCF first. So example 5 is very similar to example 4 and example 3. So nothing goofy about that one. So try to set up that X. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Nick Jr. Remember, you're multiplying those first and last together. And then that other one goes on the bottom. So you're trying to multiply to negative 36, but then add to positive 9. Give you guys a little bit of time to try to figure that out. Yeah. Go to the library or whatever. Sit outside. Yeah. Okay. Did you guys find something that multiplied to negative 36 but added to 9? I'll make my little list here. I think I found it. Right. Negative 3, positive 12 multiplies to give me negative 36, but adds to give me a positive 9. Do you guys have a preference which one I put first? You want to put the -3 first or the 12 first? It doesn't matter.
The 12.
Okay. I typically put the bigger one first, but then every once in a while I had a class that was convinced the negative one always had to go first or whatever. I mean, it's up to you guys. It won't matter either way. So again, we just changed that middle term. We're going to do grouping now. So we divide out of 2x. Out of these second two, though, we wanted to match, so we're going to divide out a -3. That way we get that positive x and the positive 6. So they do match. So you kind of have to think ahead a little bit with that. And there should only be one combination that works. So don't say like, well, I just did it a little bit different. My numbers are a little bit different. There really is only one that'll end up working. The order you put them in doesn't matter, but we should get the same outcome. Now, example 6 is a little bit trickier, so don't get too far into example 6 yet. So stop if you're on example 6. Don't forget, what's the first step we should do?
Make your x.
No, that wasn't step 1. Yep. Check for that GCF first. So this one actually has a GCF. The reason why that's so important is because otherwise you won't be able to factor completely, and you're just going to work with nicer numbers. They're going to be smaller numbers. They're going to be easier to factor. So in this case, there is a GCF, and we want to pull that out. So out of all these, we can take out a 2. Now this one is still going to be a little bit of a pain to do, but it's going to make the numbers a lot nicer. We divided all of these by 2. Now, the 2, you kind of just have to ignore it out there. So just kind of leave the 2 out there and try to pretend that it's not there. Just don't take it away. We have to make sure, just like if I took $2 from you guys, you want to remember that you gave it to me so that you got paid for, whatever we're contributing to. But there's still this 3 in the front, so we do still have to do the x thing. So I do still have to multiply those first and last terms together. And again, I just don't want to forget about that 2 on the outside. So I get 3 times -4 is a -12x squared. And then 11x is what I'm trying to add to. This is one of those face palm ones. Don't forget about the 1 times 12. So that is it. Preference, 12 or 1 first?
12.
See, knew you'd have a preference. So we're going to do 12x minus 1x gives us 11. So that's going to replace the 11 in the middle. Again, as we're doing this, though, the 2 should still stay on the outside. So if you can kind of, even if you want to leave it off for right now and come back to it later, that's fine. But I'm going to kind of rewrite it in 2 different colors just so we... So I'm worried about what's in the center of the parentheses. I'm not worried about that 2. And like I said, we're doing some tough stuff. So if this is a struggle for you, it just takes practice. It takes, following our kind of rules here. It's not going to come instantly. I mean, there's going to be mistakes made. It's okay. Okay. So out of these first 2 terms, I can take out a 3x. I'm left with x plus 4. Now out of the second 2, they're both negative, so I'm going to take out a -1. And so again, there's that 2 in front, but then there's this x plus 4 that's common. and then the 3x minus 1. It's like way against the wall. Okay? All right, next couple I believe have GCFs as well.
So you just leave the 2 there?
Yeah, the 2 just kind of hangs out in front just so we don't forget about it. So that 2 just stays in front. Number 7 has a GCF. What is it? It's 3. So we're going to pull that 3 out, divide it out of all the terms. This is going to be a 1r in the middle there then. Divide the 3 out of the 30. So the top of this is a negative 30r squared, because again, I'm looking at just this middle part now. The bottom is the positive 1r. So multiply to negative 30, add to positive 1. Multiply to negative 30, add to positive 1. And I think I got it. So our negative 5 and 6. So we're going to do 6r, because I think you guys had to put that one first, minus 5r. So that's replacing the middle here. We're rewriting this here. I know all the parentheses are tough, so if it really bugs you to have that 3 out there, just try to remember to bring it back down on the end. If you just kind of want to leave it off to the side for a little bit. So the r plus 2 is common, and then 3r minus 5. Now our last one is probably actually one of the easier ones on this page. But if you miss it, you probably make it harder than it needs to be, but you can probably still do it just fine. So there is a GCF. What can we pull out? 2. Why is this one so easy? Anyone see it? Yeah, what do you think? So there's nothing in front of that n squared. So this becomes a problem like Monday. So you don't have to do the x thing now. If you're like, oh, I kind of like that x thing now, it makes sense, you could use it. But really, I don't have to worry about that. Because I already know it has to be n times n. The first value is not up a guess, like that's not a guess for me right now. I just know it's n times n. My other half of this rule, think back to Monday, this is where we multiply to get to this one, and add to get to this one. So I wouldn't even use the little x thing on this one because I already know what those first 2 terms are. You could use the x, like sometimes, like I said, I have students that will use that all the time once they learn it. But multiply to negative 10, add to negative 3, it's just negative 5 and 2. And you don't have to do all that extra, you don't have to do the splitting up that middle term, you can just go right to this. So one like this, once you have just the n squared or the x squared, whatever it happens to be, that goes back to like Monday's homework, okay? So I would suggest using your time to get a lot of this done because again, we have ACP today and we have an activity in there, so we will not have time necessarily for homework. It's a kind of a guided activity. It's not one of just the Zella lesson. It's like a guided activity with your whole class. So just know that don't plan on having that time. So 7 through 22, but it says all, notice. So we're doing all there.